Small room is always a good room, so we can keep this fairly light-hearted, hopefully, and quick. And I must apologise straight up for my voice. I'm losing my voice already. I got in early this morning, so bear with me. Might be some coughs and splatters along the way. But who are we? We're an Australian ASX-listed company with a strong focus on copper and growth, which I'll talk to. But why have I got a picture of a ship up here? Well, this is how we do things where we are. This is become more apparent as I talk about our story, but this is a key part of our logistics and how we get things in and out of sight. A couple of things worth talking about to this photo is we're up in the high north of Canada, but you can see that the weather's very benign. It's certainly not like the world's greatest catch, Bering Strait type weather and waves. We get things on and off a ship via sea lift, which includes cranes and barges, which means you don't need traditional port or loading facilities. So we get all copper out and supplies in on these kind of ships, so it's very, very turnkey. So like I mentioned, we are in Canada, but look, we're a 3-asset company. We have 2 in Utah and 1 in Nunavut in Canada. Storm is certainly our focus at the moment. It's taken the majority of our funds at the moment for a very good reason, and given the time constraints, I'll certainly stick to that story today. But we have 2 very exciting projects in Utah as well, which is now ranked number 1 on the Fraser Institute, as we all know. But West Desert is unique in that it's the largest undeveloped indium deposit in the USA. USA is a 100% net importer of indium. Most of that comes from China and Bolivia. It's a traditional copper, lead, zinc, silver, and indium skarn. So nothing. We own it 100%, and only 10% of that project's actually been explored. The other one we have is Copper Warrior. It's a traditional set-hosted copper down near Lisbon Valley, which is Utah's second largest copper mine. So both of those projects are sort of on hold at the moment, but we're certainly looking to put some more work into those in the coming year. Quick board and management sort of summary, who we are. Look, we've got a long history of mine development and discovery. Myself and Tom, who's based in Canada, both work for BHP, ex-Western Mining, Anglo Gold, and Western Areas, and Dan, our chairman, ran Western Areas for a long time, and that culminated with the acquisition by IGO for a couple of $2 billion recently. So John Prenius is also a lawyer and financier, and we work well together as a team to move this forward. We've also got extensive in-house and in-country experience with Rocky Prey, ex-Newmont. He's a mine builder, and so we believe we can get Storm up and going. So what is Storm? Well, Storm's actually also, we've got the Seal Zinc project, but looks certainly copper is our focus at the moment. Remember this photo, this is what the mineralisation generally looks like. So it's coarse-grained. This is a sediment-hosted copper deposit. And as you guys know, there's a whole spectrum of different style of copper deposits, but this is very simple mineralogy and very simple host rocks. So it's completely hosted in dolomite, essentially altered limestone, calcium carbonate, magnesium. And this is a photo of bornite and chalcopyrite, and that looks good, but it's not the most dominant mineral. The most dominant mineral is chalcocite, which is 80% copper. But you can see how coarse this is, and that lends us to something that I'll discuss shortly about the processing options for this project. So like I said, we are far north Canada, but as you can see from the photo in the background, this is our 60-man camp. So this is there all year round. We are up in a historical mining district and a current mining district, 8 operational mines at the moment. What you don't see on this map is the other important mines up in this sort of latitudes, which is Red Dog, obviously Voisey Bay and Raglan and places like that. So this is, we're on the coast. The historical mines, Polaris and Nanisivik. Polaris, one of the most profitable mines for Teck Cominco back in the day. And these mines down here are all diamond and gold mines down here. So very busy area. You can mine 12 months of the year, 24 hours a day. Essentially, it does get dark in winter. And we have 24-hour darkness for about 30 days, 40 days. But we also get 24-hour sunlight in summer. So it's a big night shift and a long day shift. Shipping window via that ship is about 3 to 4 months of the year. In discussions with metal traders and smelters, it's not a problem to have this. Like I said, Red Dog, Voisey Bay, Raglan, they all move things periodically throughout the year. But most importantly, look, American West Metals was one of the first companies to be up in this area with our partners, Aston Bay. Teck Cominco was here for a while, but since then, it's a massive M&A land grab. BHP Billiton's recently acquired land in the area and are going very strongly. Their premise is they're looking for two things: porphyry copper and sediment-hosted copper, and this is one of the few places on the planet unexplored for sed-hosted copper. None of it's a great place to work, and look, if you talk to anyone about Canada, they'll say it takes 10 years to permit. It's complete rubbish. It's like any part of the world. Every jurisdiction is different. Like if you go to Canberra in Australia, it's going to be very hard to permit there compared to Western Australia. Well, this is true here. If you go to the Nunavut website, you'll see it's 3 years is what they say. Based on the data, it's about 4 years, so a little bit slower. But that includes some giant expansion projects for the Mary River iron ore mine, which took 10 years. But on average, it's about 2 to 4 years to permit a project here. And this is all from the Nunavut database. That's actually the Mary River iron ore mine, but you can see there mining is no different to a lot of other parts of the world. So what do we have at Storm? Maiden resource essentially went from exploration concept to maiden resource in 8 weeks drilling last year, and that's telling you about, the scale potential of Storm. So we've defined 4 clear deposits. 3 of these are sticking out of the ground. The other one, Cyclone, is flat lying, and your more traditional sediment-hosted copper deposit, stratiform. We see 2 different styles, the structurally hosted things, but also your traditional sed-hosted copper. 100% of our resources to date are open pittable, and with an average grade of 1.2%. We've only explored this down to about 100 vertical metres around these deposits. How do we know it's going to grow? Well, last year we made 2 new discoveries in the south. Thunder, 50 metres at 3% copper. That'll come into the resource category this year. Same with Lightning Ridge. And building on that, this year we've made 2 new discoveries called Squall and the Gap. So as you can see, year on year out, we're providing this organic growth year in and year out, and next year we'll drill out the Gap and the Squall and then bring those into the resource inventory. But that's how it looks in a 2D space. In 3D, this is now, Cyclone's a very large, like I said, flat, laterally extensive deposit. Terminates, the known part of the deposit terminates on this fault to the south. We've made 2 important discoveries this year. We've drilled to the south, and there's a whole bunch of faulting going on, but we hit 23 metres at 8% copper outside of the current resource. That obviously bodes well for resource growth. And we've also hit what we think is Cyclone in the central graben, identical looking mineralisation at depth. So we believe that the deposit does continue to the south and will grow. And that has massive implications for the resource potential here. We believe Cyclone, as it stands at the moment, 15 to 20 million tonnes by itself, so that's obviously the potential to double that. Storm's just a pinprick in the tenement holding. So this is this is the arm waving. This is where the scale comes in. So Storm represents essentially 5% of this entire belt. We have copper exposed at both ends. Soil sampling we've just done recently up near the Aston Bay label's got copper sticking out of the ground there. We've got copper sticking out of the ground at Tornado and Blizzard. We have EM anomalies. We've got drilling to support this, and so this is a 100-kilometre long district which we own with our joint venture partner 100%. So this is going to be a story of organic growth, but the real thing, which we're running out of time to talk about, and the real key to us getting into development and into production quickly is this next piece. So this is essentially what I showed you earlier, but it's crushed. And very early on, we knew that chalcocite's got a SG of 5.5 and dolomite's 2.8. So it makes perfect sense that one thing's twice as heavy as the other. It should separate essentially like gold panning. And so we recognised this very early on, and so we did some test work through ore sorting and also DMS, and both methods showed a very efficient upgrade. What you're looking at here is actually the first cut from the DMS plant, and it's at an SG of, I think it's about 2.9, and that has given us a 55% copper. And now that's from a rock that was 1.5% copper. So you can see having chalcocite there, which is 80% copper, in this very benign, boring dolomite rock, you can achieve this fantastic upgrade potential. What does it look like from a very simple PFD? We crush the ore, we put into 2 different plus 10 mil and sub 10 mil. The plus 10 gets ore sorted and then recrushed, and the minor material goes through the DMS plant. They get recombined, and we can actually make anything from 16 to 22% copper. Essentially, if you put 2 million tonnes in the front end, you get 20,000 tonnes of copper out. Now, the beauty about this is there's no tailings, there's no reagents, there's no chemicals, and so what you've got is a very ESG positive project, but also low capital. You can look online and see how much an ore sort of costs. This 1.5 million tonne per annum initial base case uses 4 of those. They're about $2 million each. So you can. The beauty of this is you're not talking 500 or 250 or 500 million to get this thing going. You essentially can get this going with very, very cheap capital. And the beauty of that is also, like you said, in terms of the permitting, you're very, very low footprint from an environmental and community aspect. So we can't talk about recoveries in this. What we do is essentially make 2 piles. We make a DSO pile and then another pile which has got the rest of the copper in it, which we can treat with traditional flotation. So the flotation work we've done shows we can make a 42% copper concentrate at about 92% recovery. So this stuff does recover very well. It's chalcocite, as you know, it floats like a homesick angel, and it's very easy to process. And as you can see from the gang rock, it's very, very simple. So this is the penny drop moment for us. This gives us the ability, something that we can fund ourselves. We don't need the assistance from a major. We don't have to dilute, use a partner. This represents, particularly with the resource growth potential, for us to be able to organically grow this project over the next 10 to 15 years. So, look, what are the catalysts going forwards? Almost out of time. Based on these 2 key strategies, which is obviously the resource growths and exploring the belt, but also this DSO, is that we'd like to, we're going to do a resource upgrade with the drilling that we've done this year, and then that's going to flow into a PEA/PFS at the first quarter next year. That's a massive document. That unlocks permitting, that unlocks discussions with smelters. That's the de-risking thing that shows how potentially high margin and low capital this project can be. So that's going to be a very clear catalyst for us going forwards. And we think those 2 things are really going to result in a transformational change for American West Metals. But in the interest of time and my voice, open to questions. Look, if anyone wants dart information on West Desert and Copper Warrior, the other Utah projects, come and see me anytime. Tomorrow's got some gaps, etc. So, yeah, feel free to reach out.
We do have 2 minutes left, so if anyone does have any questions, we can open it up. If not, I've got one. Could you just talk to me about the next 12 months, 24-month timeline, what you're expecting to be?
Yeah, so next few weeks, resource upgrade. So the initial maiden resource was 17.5 at 1.2% copper. So I'd like to see that obviously increase significantly based on, we did 23,000 metres of drilling this year. A lot of that was resource upgrade, so moving the inferred to indicated, so that'll go into the mine plan, but also you saw some of the expansion work we've been doing as well. That will then flow into the PEA/PFS. Now that's obviously going to be a confidence issue with what we're doing. Look, it's going to be something like geotech. It's resource, met, environment we're already 2 years ahead in our environmental studies as well. We're already talking to the community up there, so we're very advanced on all those things. So that'll all flow into that, and then we'll kick the next year's program off. We usually go from March to October, and there's potential to start that a little bit earlier this year.
Okay. And did you say you had a JV partner on this as well?
Yeah, so, excuse me, Aston Bay Holdings,
okay,
TSX listed company. They had it for a long time. They own 20%, we're 80%. And look, they are free carry till decision to mine, which could be next week. No. But yeah, so that's, look, I think once we submit our permitting documentation, that's essentially a flag to say that we're moving forward with this.
Okay. And the DSO, where are you shipping it off to?
That'll go to Europe. Obviously, the Horn smelter is one of the closer ones, and we are working with some bigger companies in the area to discuss logistics. Obviously, you've got the guys that do Voisey Bay and Raglan, etc. They're very experienced with moving material through those waters and what the costs are. So we are working with those guys to really nail down the confidence in those costs and assumptions there.
Good. All right. Lovely. Thanks, Dave. Cheers.